I still remember the sound before I saw it, the laughter. Sara's laughter. It used to be my favorite sound in the world. I pushed open the door, expecting to see her alone. But there he was, Ryan. My brother. His hand resting on her waist like it belonged there. Sara. My voice cracked before I could stop it. They froze. Sara pulled away slowly, eyes wide, lips trembling. Ayaan, you're home early. Apparently. I stepped closer. And you're busy. Ryan straightened, pretending calm. Bro, it's not what it looks like. I laughed, sharp, humorless. That's the oldest line in the book, isn't it? So tell me, what does it look like, then? Sara grabbed her phone from the table. Don't make this dramatic. You weren't supposed to come tonight. Right. Because I was supposed to be blind for the rest of my life. I looked at her, then at him. How long? Ryan sighed, rubbing his neck. A few months. It just happened. It just happened. I whispered. You tripped and fell into my wife. Sara snapped, don't talk like that. You don't understand what it's been like. Then help me understand, I said. You promised forever. What changed? Her voice softened, but her words cut deeper than a blade. You were never enough for me, Ayaan. For a second, the world tilted. My breath caught somewhere in my throat. Not enough. You're kind, yes, she continued, eyes hardening. But kind doesn't pay for dreams. You live too small. I wanted more, travel, class, recognition. Ryan offers that. I turned to him. You. Ryan couldn't look at me. You were always the favorite. Mom trusted you. Dad left you the company. I was always in your shadow. So you took what was mine. He whispered, you left it unguarded. I stared at both of them, the woman I loved and the brother I trusted. My chest burned, not with anger, but with emptiness. You could have just told me. Both of you. Sara crossed her arms. Would you have let me go? Yes, I said quietly. Because I loved you enough to let you be happy. She looked away, eyes glistening for a moment before she said, you'll get over it. Those words snapped something inside me. You think I'll get over this like a bad dream? You think betrayal fades that easily? Ryan muttered, you're overreacting. We didn't plan it like this. I stepped toward him. You think betrayal needs planning? You think it's an accident? He raised his voice. You were too busy being perfect, Ayaan. You made everyone feel small around you. I was busy keeping this family together, I shot back. I worked while you wasted nights proving you mattered. Sara interrupted, stop it. You both sound pathetic. For a moment, no one spoke. The silence buzzed, heavy and cruel. I looked at her again, the woman I once thought would grow old with me. I was going to surprise you tonight, I said quietly. A weekend trip. I even booked the tickets. I thought you needed a break. Her lips trembled, but she stayed silent. You know what's funny? I continued. I kept blaming myself when you became distant. I thought maybe I wasn't affectionate enough. Maybe I worked too hard. But now I see, some people don't want love. They want convenience. Ryan muttered, you're twisting it. No, I said. You already did that. Sara folded her arms again. So what now? You'll hate us forever. I shook my head slowly. No. I'm too tired to hate. I turned toward the door. Sara's voice trembled behind me. Where are you going? Somewhere without lies, I said. Maybe that doesn't exist anymore, but I'll find out. She took a step forward. Ayaan, don't just walk away like this. I already did, I said, opening the door. You just never noticed. Ryan called out, you'll regret this. You'll end up alone. I paused at the doorway and turned slightly. Maybe. But at least I'll be able to look in the mirror without disgust. For a long second, I looked back, at her trembling hands, at his hollow face, and realized how small they suddenly seemed. The people who once defined my world were strangers now. Sara whispered one last thing. You were never enough for me. I smiled faintly. And you were never the woman I thought you were. Then I stepped out into the night. The air was cold, heavy, but it was honest. For the first time in years, I felt something real, pain that didn't pretend to be love. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just walked away, one step, then another, until the sound of their voices disappeared behind me. That was the night everything broke, my marriage, my family, my illusions. But maybe, just maybe, that was also the night something inside me began to wake up. The days after the betrayal blurred together. I didn't eat much. Didn't sleep much either. The phone kept ringing, but I couldn't answer. Everyone suddenly wanted to talk, but no one wanted to understand. When I finally picked up a call, it was Uncle Farid. Ayaan, where have you been, son? I've been calling for days. I don't know, I said. Everywhere and nowhere. He sighed. You need to come by the office. There's something you should hear from me before you hear it from others. I already knew it would hurt. Everything had been hurting anyway. When I walked into his office, he looked older, tired. Sit down, he said softly. I stayed standing. Just tell me. He hesitated. The board finalized the sale. Ryan's name is on the papers. He's the new CEO. The words didn't even sting at first, they just floated. Then I laughed, the kind of laugh that dies before it reaches your eyes. Of course he is. Why not? He already took my wife. Might as well take my father's company too. Ayaan. No, it's fine. I forced a smile. It's poetic, really. He gets everything I loved, and I get what? Silence. Uncle Farid folded his hands. You get something more valuable. Freedom. The chance to start again without their shadows. I don't want a new start, I said. I just want my old life back. He leaned forward. Sometimes losing everything is how God gives you back yourself. I stared at him. That's easy to say when you're not the one who lost. He nodded slowly. True. But you'll understand one day. I didn't reply. There wasn't much to say. I walked out before my chest cracked open again. At home, the silence greeted me like an old friend. The framed wedding photo still sat on the shelf. I picked it up, stared at it for a long time, then set it face down. A few hours later, my mother called. Ayaan, she said softly. You didn't answer when I called earlier. I was busy pretending to exist, I said. She hesitated. I heard about the company. Your uncle told me. Let me guess, you're proud of Ryan. Don't talk like that, she whispered. He's still your brother. He was, I said. Until he stopped acting like one. Ayaan, please. Families fight, but blood. Blood doesn't excuse betrayal. There was silence on the line. Then she said, I wish you'd talk to him. For me. I closed my eyes. You always ask me to forgive him, but you never ask him to stop. Her voice broke a little. He's struggling too. I almost laughed again. He's the CEO now, Mom. He's not struggling. He's celebrating. That's not fair. No, what's not fair, I said, is watching my own mother defend the man who tore my life apart. Ayaan. I'm tired, Mom. I need space. Before she could answer, I hung up. My hands shook, but not from anger, just exhaustion. A knock came at my door later that night. It was Uncle Farid again, holding a bag of food. You didn't eat, he said simply. You could have just called. You wouldn't have picked up. He walked in without asking, setting the food on the table. You remind me of your father, you know. Stubborn when hurt. I sat down. Did he ever feel this kind of betrayal? He looked away. He did. From partners, friends, even family. But he kept faith. How? By understanding that people's actions say more about them than they ever will about you. I stared at the untouched food. Then what do mine say about me? That you still care, he said. And that's your strength, not your weakness. I didn't answer. I just nodded, forcing down a few bites. Before leaving, he placed a hand on my shoulder. Don't disappear completely, Ayaan. Pain fades faster when you keep moving. Where would I even go? I asked. Anywhere that reminds you who you are without them. After he left, I sat in the dark, replaying every word. Maybe he was right. Maybe losing everything was the only way to see what was left of me. By morning, I packed a small bag, just clothes, a few photos, and my father's old watch. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I couldn't stay here, surrounded by ghosts and memories that no longer belonged to me. I looked around one last time and whispered, goodbye. And as I stepped outside, into a city that no longer felt like home, I finally admitted the truth to myself. I wasn't escaping them. I was trying to find me. I didn't plan to stay in that city. I just needed to breathe somewhere new, somewhere no one knew my name. I rented a small room near the river and found work as a delivery driver. It wasn't much, but it kept my mind quiet. One rainy afternoon, I delivered food to a small studio tucked between two tall buildings. The sign read Amara Designs. When I walked in, a woman looked up from behind a desk cluttered with sketches. You're drenched, she said, frowning. Didn't they give you a raincoat? I glanced at my soaked sleeves. I didn't think the sky hated me this much today. She smiled faintly. You sound like you've had worse days. You have no idea. I set the box on the counter. Food delivery for Amara. That's me. She opened the container and then glanced at me again. You look like you haven't eaten. Want half? I can't. Company rules. She pushed the box toward me. Break them. No one's watching. I hesitated, then sat across from her. The food was warm, simple, comforting, like a forgotten memory. So, she said between bites, what did you do before this? Drove cars, I replied. For fun or survival? Survival. She nodded slowly. You don't talk much, do you? I used to, I said. Then I realized people hear only what they want. That's true, she murmured. But sometimes the right person hears everything. Her words lingered longer than they should have. When I stood to leave, she said, if you ever get tired of delivering food, come by. I need someone who shows up on time. Most of my freelancers can't tell the difference between a deadline and a suggestion. I don't know anything about design, I said. You know how to listen, she replied. That's rare. That night, I kept hearing her voice. Calm. Grounded. I didn't understand why it mattered, but it did. The next day, I found myself outside her studio again, pretending it was coincidence. She looked up from her laptop and smiled. Lost again? Something like that, I said. Good. I need help carrying boxes. Boxes? Clients love last-minute miracles. You look strong enough to move a mountain. Or at least 10 boxes of brochures. I laughed for the first time in weeks. I can do that. We spent the afternoon packing, labeling, and talking. Or rather, she talked, and I listened. She told me how she started her design business alone, how people doubted her, how she worked nights until the lights flickered. You didn't quit? I asked. I almost did, she said. Then I realized something. What? No one's coming to save you. You either build your own ladder or stay on the floor. I nodded. That sounds exhausting. It is, she said. But it's better than waiting for someone who won't come. Her words hit deeper than she knew. After work, she asked, you want coffee? I don't drink much coffee. Tea then. Or silence. I'm good at both. We sat at a small cafe nearby. She sipped her tea slowly, watching the rain. You look like a man running from something, she said. Maybe I am. Running doesn't always mean escaping, she replied. Sometimes it means surviving. I stared at my hands. What if I'm just tired of starting over? Then start smaller, she said. Start with breathing. Then with believing you can still do something right. I met her eyes. You don't even know me. I don't need to, she said. I can see it in how you talk, you're careful. Careful people are usually the ones who've been hurt the most. I didn't know how to answer. No one had ever read me that easily. When she stood up to leave, she said, come by tomorrow. Help me organize my files. I'll pay you hourly. I'm not looking for charity, I said. It's not charity, she replied. It's a job. And maybe a reminder that you're not broken. The words stopped me cold. You're not broken. I wanted to believe that. God, I wanted to. As she walked away, her umbrella glowing under the streetlight, I felt something shift inside me, something quiet but real. Maybe this city wasn't just another escape. Maybe it was where I'd start breathing again. I didn't know it then, but that was the beginning of my new life. Morning, Ayaan. Coffee? Amara's voice snapped me out of my fog. Black, thanks. I carried the stack of folders to her desk. You're smiling, she said, glancing at me over her laptop. I am. I asked. My mouth tugged in a half-smile before I realized it. Maybe I am. That's progress, she said, without looking up. You used to look like you were carrying a storm on your back. Maybe I was, I muttered, setting the folders down. Storm's gone, mostly. She finally looked at me, raising an eyebrow. Mostly? Mostly, I repeated. Some clouds hang around for old habits, I guess. She laughed softly. Old habits die hard. I leaned against the desk. You know, before this, I used to think people like me were broken goods. Once something's taken, it's gone for good. Amara tilted her head. And now? Now. I don't think that anymore. I just need to learn how to build again. She smiled faintly. Good. Because I have boxes of things that need building. I groaned. You're cruel. I like it. She handed me a folder. Here. These are client briefs. Your job is to make sense of them without asking me a million questions. Sounds impossible, I said. No, she replied. It's simple. You listen, you decide, and you make it work. Trust yourself. I stared at her. You trust me? Of course, she said, shrugging. I see potential. You're just too stubborn to notice it yourself. I laughed. I was too busy hating my life to notice anything. That's not stubbornness, she said. That's survival. But now you can try living. I picked up a pen. Living, right. Sounds easy on paper. She leaned back, smirking. Nothing worth doing is easy. I spent the next hour going through client briefs, labeling, organizing. Every time I finished one, she would glance at me and nod. Good. Keep going. I realized something strange. I was smiling. I hadn't smiled like this in months. Maybe years. Hey, Ayaan, she said suddenly. Why don't you ever ask about me? What do you mean? You never ask about my life, my past. You just help, and you listen. I shrugged. I don't need to know. You're here now, that's enough. She laughed softly. I like that. You notice what matters. Later, she handed me more folders. You're organizing my portfolio next. After that, we'll start the presentation for the client. Big pitch tomorrow. I groaned. Big pitch? I thought we were just surviving. We are, she said. But surviving doesn't mean staying small. Small is safe, I said, glancing at her. And boring, she replied. You've survived long enough. Now try thriving. I stared at the pile of folders, at her unwavering gaze. She didn't just see me as someone broken. She saw someone capable. Maybe thriving sounds scary, I admitted. Then do it scared, she said, voice firm. It's the only way to grow. I leaned back in my chair, thinking. All this time, I had been waiting for someone to apologize, to fix me, to bring me back from the rubble. And no one did. Not Sara, not Ryan, not even my mother. But here she was, Amara. Quiet, steady, believing in me when I didn't. And for the first time, I felt like maybe I could believe in myself. All right, I said finally. Big pitch tomorrow. I'll do my best. You'll do more than that, she said. You'll amaze yourself. We worked late into the evening. I filed documents, sorted designs, and proofread client emails. She offered guidance, but she let me make the decisions. Every small success gave me a spark of confidence I hadn't felt in months. At one point, I paused. You know. I actually think I like this. Being useful. Being trusted. She glanced at me. You should. You're good at it. Good at it? I muttered. I've been a wreck for so long I forgot what good felt like. Then remember it, she said. Start now. Her words hit me in a way I hadn't expected. I realized I wasn't surviving anymore. I was building. Growing. Becoming someone I could be proud of. The night ended with her smiling at me. Tomorrow, we show the world we're serious. I nodded. Tomorrow, we rise. As I walked home, I thought about Sara and Ryan. The pain they caused me, the betrayal that once consumed my mind, felt distant, like smoke drifting away in the wind. For the first time in months, I didn't think about what I lost. I thought about what I could create. And for the first time, I truly felt peace. My phone buzzed on the table. I glanced at it, hoping it was some client confirmation, but the name made my stomach drop, Sara. Can we talk? I stared at the screen for a long time. My thumb hovered over the reply button. I didn't touch it. Not yet. A few days later, I found myself at a networking event, trying to focus on potential clients instead of memories. That's when I saw her. Sara. She was standing by the refreshment table, wearing that perfume, the one I could never forget. I froze. Hello, Ayaan, she said softly, but there was no warmth in her eyes. Only emptiness. Hello, Sara, I said carefully. How are you? I'm fine, she said. You? Better than I ever expected to be, I replied. My voice was calm, though my heart was a storm. She hesitated, then whispered, I made a mistake. I raised an eyebrow. Mistake? That's one word for betrayal. I know, she said, looking down. I shouldn't have, it was wrong. You're telling me this now, after everything? Her lips trembled. I didn't know what to do. I wanted to reach out for months. And yet, you didn't, I said, leaning slightly against the table. You let me burn alone. She flinched. I know. I can't undo it. No, you can't, I said, voice low. And I don't need you to. You're here, yes, but the damage is done. There was silence for a moment. I could hear the chatter around us, but it felt distant, as if the room had shrunk to just the two of us. You look different, she said quietly. I mean, stronger. Happier. I chuckled without humor. I've learned to survive without waiting for people to save me. Her eyes widened slightly. Ryan, she trailed off. I know, I said. Uncle Farid told me everything. His company went bankrupt. And, ironically, my family business, well, they're struggling too. And now, they're reaching out. She swallowed hard. They need your help. I nodded slowly. Yes. Funny, isn't it? The people who abandoned you now want you to bail them out. Sara's voice wavered. Ayaan, I didn't expect. Don't, I interrupted. Don't explain. I don't need your excuses. I need reality, and reality is this: I'm alive. I'm here. You're not the same as before. Neither is he. I thought you'd hate me, she whispered. Hate. I repeated. I felt a lot of things. Anger. Sadness. Loss. But hate. Hate keeps you tied to the past. I'm not tied to you anymore. She blinked. You sound calm. I am, I said. I've spent months learning to live again. Without you, without him, without the ghosts. You've really changed, she said softly, almost in awe. I had to, I replied. Because if I didn't, I'd still be that broken man you left behind. Her shoulders sagged, as if she carried guilt heavier than she could bear. I wish things were different. Me too, I said quietly. But wishing doesn't fix reality. Only action does. And I'm not the one who needs fixing. Her eyes filled with tears, but I didn't look away. I stayed still. Solid. Unshakable. I never realized how much I hurt you, she admitted. And now you do, I said. Good. That's enough for me. Understanding the pain doesn't undo it, but at least it's something you can't ignore anymore. She nodded. Stop, I said gently but firmly. This isn't about you seeking forgiveness. It's about me understanding I don't need it. She stayed quiet after that, and I focused on the room, on the noise, on the life moving forward around me. Later, I stepped outside, breathing in the crisp evening air. My chest felt lighter. Sara's presence, the old perfume, the reminders of betrayal, they were still there. But they no longer owned me. I whispered to myself, this is just another chapter. One I didn't plan for, but one I can handle. And as I walked away from the event, from her, from the past, I realized something: karma doesn't need my interference. It moves on its own, and so do I. The knock on my door startled me. I wasn't expecting anyone. I opened it slowly, and my heart stopped, not from love, but disbelief. Sara and Ryan stood there. My past, in human form, broken in ways I never imagined. Ayaan, Ryan started, voice shaking, but he tried to mask it with bravado. We need to talk. I studied them quietly. He looked smaller somehow, and she, her eyes were red, guilt written across her face. Why are you here? I asked calmly, almost too calm. Ryan stepped forward. Business is collapsing. We need your help. I tilted my head. You mean the company you ruined with bad decisions and greed? Ryan flinched. It's complicated. Complicated? I interrupted. You made it simple. You failed. You lied. And now you're here. Sara whispered, almost too softly for me to hear, Ayaan. I made a mistake. I didn't move. I didn't speak at first. I just let the words hang in the air. Ryan tried to defend himself. Look, I didn't expect this to happen. Markets crash, partners quit. Excuses, I said, cutting him off. You blamed everyone but yourself. And now you come crawling to me. Sara stepped closer, desperation in her eyes. Please, just help us. No, I said softly, but each word was sharp. No, Sara. You taught me how to be heartless. Now, live with it. Her hand trembled. She looked at Ryan, as if searching for support. But he had none to give. I thought you'd forgive us, she whispered, voice breaking. I'm not here to forgive, I said. I'm here to watch consequences land where they belong. Ryan's face turned red, half anger, half fear. Ayaan, come on. We're family. I laughed quietly, the sound brittle. Family? Family doesn't stab you in the back and then expect comfort when the knife rebounds. Sara's lips quivered. We never thought, we didn't know. You didn't care, I said, voice steady. If you had, you wouldn't be standing here begging now. Ryan's jaw tightened. You think this is easy for me? Easy? I repeated. Do you think losing everything while I rebuilt myself was easy? He faltered. I could see it, the facade cracking. I made mistakes. Mistakes? I asked, taking a step closer. Mistakes don't destroy people's lives. Betrayal does. And you excelled at it. Sara looked down at the floor. I'm sorry. I studied her, the woman who once laughed in my face, who left me hollow. Sorry doesn't bring back trust. It doesn't heal nights spent wondering why you weren't enough. It doesn't undo the silence I felt while you lived happily with him. I never realized, she began. I shook my head. You realized now. That's what counts, for you. Not for me. Ryan swallowed hard, pacing. You can't just let us fail. I crossed my arms. I don't have to. The world will handle that. I've learned something, Ryan. Success without character is temporary. And you're about to feel that. Sara looked up, tears in her eyes. Please, Ayaan. I need you. You had your chance, I said. I won't be part of your rescue plan. I won't fix the mess you made. I won't pretend this never happened. Ryan's hands shook. You're cruel. I stepped closer, voice low, calm, but lethal. I'm just quiet. I've learned that silence is sharper than anger. And you're feeling it now, aren't you? He didn't answer. He couldn't. Sara's voice cracked. You're not even mad. I said softly. 4 months. Maybe even years. But anger is exhausting. I spent my time building something new instead. You spent your time falling apart. Her eyes widened. Ayaan, we didn't expect. Expect what? I asked. That I'd beg you to survive. That I'd drop everything and save you. We thought. You thought I'd still be that broken man. That I'd wait while you suffered. Ryan's knees almost buckled. Ayaan, I raised my hand. No. You learn now. Karma doesn't need my help. It's silent. Sharp. And it's already here. Sara and Ryan both lowered their heads, shame and fear etching their faces. For the first time, I saw the consequences of their choices reflected in their expressions. I took a step back, letting them feel it fully, the emptiness that comes when the tables turn. This, I said quietly, is what it feels like to lose the world you thought was yours. To see the man you underestimated, rise above it all. Sara whispered, Ayaan, please. I shook my head. No more words. No more chances. You taught me betrayal. Now, you live with it. They stood there, silent, crumbling in a way I had never seen before. And I realized, finally, what karma really looked like, not loud, not vindictive, just, inevitable. I turned and walked away, feeling the calm I had fought so hard to find. No triumph shouted from my lips. No gloating. Just peace. Outside, the city lights glimmered, reflecting in my eyes. I smiled faintly. The past had knocked. I had answered. And for the first time, I was free. I sat on the balcony, staring at the city lights, when Uncle Farid's voice came over the phone. Ayaan, he said gently. It's time you think about forgiveness. I frowned. Forgiveness? After everything? Yes, he said. Forgiveness isn't for them. It's for you. Holding on to hate only weighs you down. I sighed, staring at the glass railing. It's not that simple. It rarely is, he replied. But you don't have to carry this forever. Later, Amara joined me with tea in hand. Uncle Farid's right, she said softly, handing me the cup. Closure doesn't mean weakness. It means freedom. I looked at her, her calm eyes meeting mine. Freedom feels foreign. Because you've spent so long chained to the past, she said. You've built yourself up, Ayaan. You've survived. Now it's time to decide what kind of man you want to be. I took a deep sip. I keep thinking about Ryan. About Sara. About all the nights I spent broken because of them. Amara sat beside me. And yet, here you are. Stronger. Smarter. You've already won what matters. I nodded slowly. But winning doesn't erase the memories. No, she said. It just teaches you that you can carry them without letting them crush you. A week later, I got the call, Ryan had collapsed. The hospital said it was stress. Panic. His empire falling apart. I hesitated. Then I went. When I entered the room, I barely recognized him. His face was pale, eyes sunken, hands trembling. He looked smaller than I remembered. Ayaan, he whispered, barely audible. I lost everything. Everything, because of my pride. I pulled up a chair. You did, I said calmly. Tears ran down his cheeks. I never thought it would come to this. I betrayed everyone, and now I'm paying for it. You always will, I said. But not because I hate you. You did that to yourself. He looked at me, voice breaking. Do you hate me? I paused. The question weighed heavier than I expected. I could feel the anger bubbling up, memories of Sara, the company, the nights I cried alone. I began slowly. I don't forgive you. Not today. Not yet. And maybe not ever. His hands clenched. So you hate me? I shook my head. No. Hate keeps you chained to someone else's mistakes. I've learned something you never did. What? He whispered. I leaned forward. We both lost something that day. But only one of us learned. Ryan's shoulders slumped. His pride, once a fortress, was gone. Only regret remained. Sara wasn't there, and I didn't care. The apology she might have offered, the tears she could shed, they didn't matter anymore. Why are you here? Ryan asked. Because life doesn't stop for revenge, I said softly. And neither should I. He nodded, eyes filling with a mix of shame and awe. I don't deserve. You're right, I said. You don't. But that's not what this is about. It's about me choosing peace over anger. I stood, looking at him one last time. Learn from this. Let it teach you humility. That's all I can do. Outside the hospital, Amara was waiting. She didn't ask questions. She never did. She just reached for my hand, a steady warmth I could hold on to. You okay? She asked quietly. I nodded, taking in the evening air. I am. I think. I finally am. She smiled, squeezing my hand. That's all I wanted to hear. For the first time, I realized hate had been heavy, and letting go didn't mean forgetting. It meant I was free to live without carrying the weight of their choices. I thought about Uncle Farid's words, about Amara's gentle guidance. Both had nudged me toward a decision I didn't want to make, but had to. I would not be defined by betrayal. I would not let their failures shape me. I whispered to myself as we walked through the quiet streets, I choose peace. I choose me. And in that moment, I felt a calm I hadn't known since the night everything broke. Sara and Ryan were shadows in my past now, reminders of pain and lessons learned. But I was no longer a prisoner to them. I had tasted resilience, discovered strength, and embraced the life I had built with my own hands, and with Amara by my side. I looked ahead, at the city lights reflecting in the river, and smiled faintly. Because for the first time, I knew exactly who I was, and who I wanted to be. The office was quiet except for the hum of computers. Amara leaned back in her chair, smiling at a client email. You're glowing today, she said, glancing at me. I feel at peace, I admitted, watching her work. It's strange. I used to think peace was impossible. She looked up, eyes soft. It's not impossible. You just had to survive the storm first. I chuckled. Survive, rebuild, grow. And now, here we are. She smiled, reaching for my hand. Here we are. My phone buzzed on the desk. I picked it up. Sara. Can we meet? I stared at it for a moment, letting the words sit. Months had passed. I had healed. I had built a life I was proud of. Are you going to reply? Amara asked, tilting her head. I will, I said slowly. But I won't be the same man she left behind. A half hour later, we met at a small cafe. Sara arrived, her eyes wide, timid. She looked nervous, fragile even. Ayaan, she said quietly. Hello, Sara, I replied, calm. Have a seat. She did, fidgeting with her hands. I wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything. I nodded slowly. I know. You've said it before. Her lips trembled. I just wanted a chance to explain, to, maybe fix things. I shook my head. Sara, I don't need fixing. I've moved on. And I hope you can, too. She blinked. You don't hate me. I used to, I said softly. For a long time. But hate doesn't belong to me anymore. It belongs to the past. Sara's eyes filled with tears. I thought I could have everything back. You thought wrong, I said calmly. And that's okay. Life teaches lessons. We can't always get what we want. Her shoulders slumped. I don't know what to say. You don't need to say anything, I replied. I'm not here to punish you. I'm here to close a chapter. I understand, she whispered, voice barely audible. I smiled faintly. Good. That's all I wanted. Closure. For both of us. She nodded, standing slowly. I hope you're happy. I am, I said honestly. More than I ever thought I could be. She paused at the door. Ayaan. Yes. Thank you, for not hating me anymore. I nodded, watching her walk away. The cafe felt lighter when she left. The tension, the weight of old pain, it had vanished. Amara was waiting outside, leaning against the car. So? She asked, eyebrow raised. I'm free, I said, sliding into the driver's seat. Free from the past, free from anger, free from them. She smiled, squeezing my hand. You've earned this. You've worked for it. I started the car, glancing at the city lights ahead. I worked for me, I said. Not revenge. Not validation. Me. She laughed softly. And you've built something beautiful. Together. I looked at her, feeling warmth spread through me. Together, I repeated. It's funny. I used to beg for love, for approval, for acceptance. Now. I get to choose it freely. And it feels incredible. The car rolled forward, the night calm and steady. I thought about the man I had been, the broken, desperate man who once stood in the ruins of betrayal, and I barely recognized him. I've healed, I whispered to myself. Completely. I've built a life I deserve, a love I chose, and a peace I earned. Amara glanced at me. And what about them? They've had their lessons, I said quietly. Karma works quietly. I don't need to touch it. I just live mine. Her hand found mine again. And that's enough. I squeezed it, looking forward. More than enough. We drove past the lights reflecting on the river. The city felt alive, promising. And for the first time, I felt entirely in control of my life, my choices, my happiness. The man who once begged for love no longer existed. In his place was someone stronger, calmer, unshakable. I took a deep breath, smiling at Amara. This is our beginning. Not the past, not the pain. Just us. She leaned her head on my shoulder. Exactly. Our beginning. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel loss, anger, or regret. I felt light, successful, loved, and finally, at peace. The past was behind me. Karma had done its work. I had done mine. And now, life awaited. I opened my drawer, the wood creaking softly. There it was, the letter I wrote to Sara years ago, the one I never sent. I traced the folded paper with my fingers, feeling the weight of old anger, old pain. Ayaan. Lunch is ready. Amara's voice floated from the kitchen. I smiled faintly, setting the letter aside for a moment. Coming. I called back. But I couldn't let it go just yet. I unfolded the paper, the words almost burning my eyes, thank you for breaking me. Without that pain, I'd never have found who I really am. I chuckled quietly, thinking of the nights I spent replaying her betrayal, the emptiness I felt when Ryan smiled at her instead of me. All that hurt had led me here, to a place I never imagined. Are you still in there, daydreaming? Amara asked, leaning against the doorway with her arms crossed, eyes curious. Just, remembering, I said softly, holding the letter in both hands. It's strange. I wrote this when I was broken, and now. I see it differently. Differently how? She asked, stepping closer. I see that every tear, every sleepless night, every moment I thought I'd never recover, it all mattered. It built me. I paused, letting my words sink into the quiet room. And it taught me that losing everything doesn't mean the end. Sometimes it's the beginning. Amara smiled, resting her hand on my shoulder. That's the man I fell in love with. Not the broken one, the one who chose to rise. I laughed softly, a sound lighter than it had been in years. I guess I never sent it because I didn't need to. Sara never deserved to read it. This letter is for me. She leaned against me, warmth steady and real. And for me too, she said. I folded the paper carefully, placing it back in the drawer. The past, the betrayal, the lies, the nights I thought I'd drown in regret, no longer held any power over me. I finally understand, I said, looking at her. The man who once lost everything, he didn't really lose. He learned. He grew. He became someone worth losing, and now, someone worth loving. You are, Amara whispered. Every day. I smiled, feeling the quiet joy settle in my chest. And I think. I finally believe it. Her hand found mine, fingers intertwining naturally. Ready to eat? She asked with a playful grin. I nodded, slipping the letter back into its drawer one last time. Yes. But this time, I walk away lighter. Not angry, not bitter. Just, alive. She laughed, tugging me toward the kitchen. Alive is good. Alive is everything. I followed, glancing back at the drawer, then letting it go completely. The past no longer owns me. The man who once begged for love, who once felt empty and worthless, he has finally won. Not through revenge. Not through anger. Through becoming someone worth losing, and worth loving. I stepped fully into the sunlight of my life, hearing Amara's voice call me again. Let's eat, Ayaan. I smiled, feeling at peace, knowing the letter would stay where it belonged, in my hands, my story, my growth. And that was enough.